Students of Reddit, what's the craziest thing you overheard when the principal forgot to turn his mic off after an announcement? We were in school, and it was close to summertime. So, the atmosphere tends to get more relaxed near the holidays and whatnot. We used to get announcements over the microphone from our school principal every morning. Your usual stuff, such as today's menu, the agenda and so on. Most of the time he was so boring with his announcements that we didn't even pay any attention, like most kids do. However, this morning was a different one. The principal goes live with his usually announcement. His voice could be heard on the entire school premises, even in bathrooms. Gosh, there is no getting away from that guy. He goes along with the announcement, he delivers it, and the odd thing was that the announcement didn't end with the usual sound tone that notifies the disconnection. So, this meant that he had not turned off the mic, and we could still hear him, even in the bathrooms. Two voices were talking distant from the microphone. It was sort of muffled, but you could still make sense of what was discussed. One of the voices was clearly the one of our principal and the other one was not so clear. The principal was saying all this stuff about how we are back annoying little kids, and how he was looking forward for the summer holiday, so we could get the hell away from his school, to leave him at peace. He went on and on about how tough this year was, and how it was all our fault, that he was feeling miserable. After hearing that, everyone was silent. We simply didn't know how to react, teachers, students, all silent. So, we've thought, let's make the old man regret his words. If he wants trouble, we'll give him trouble. Last day of school was complete anarchy. It's like all the students turn into savages, broken furniture, eggs thrown on walls, flooded toilets, you name it. We were usually normal type of students, usually not causing a lot of trouble. For some reason, his messed up announcement woke up the delinquents in all of us. We gave him a show for him to remember throughout summer, and at the end we grabbed our books and burned them in the schoolyard. Next school year we found out he was fired because of the property damage he was responsible for. It was his school after all. God, I miss being a student and getting away with stuff. We were the worst school in the state, absolutely the worst. Constantly failing exams, bullies all around, fights during most lunch breaks. The usual. Naturally, it takes a real army-like principal to keep everyone in place, and our principal was not far off from that stereotype. He was the only person in the whole school that could actually discipline us. The teachers didn't stand a chance. He was always on point, with a strong voice and sharp attitude. His attitude was quite explosive, and he was not really known for his patience. Also, he used to have bags under his eyes all the time. We used to make fun of him with my colleagues, that he doesn't go to sleep and just roams around the school corridors at night. The morning announcements over the microphone felt like a motivational talk every time. He kept saying, do your best, never give up, chase your dreams. Basically, the most corny stuff you can think of. We were all wondering for how long can this guy keep this up? Also, why is he doing it? Most of the times, it didn't make any sense. Anyway, one day it all started to unravel. He did his usual announcement, rambling on about random stuff completely unrelated to school. However, at the end he forgot to turn his mic off. All we heard next was sniff sniff and then yelling. I knew what was going on, and probably everybody else kind of knew as well at that point. The mic was quickly turned off afterwards, but it was already too late. That explained everything. The guy was doing coke. I mean, how else can you cope with such a wonderful school, right? The struggles of being an adult, I guess. So, this explained his switched on explosive behavior, his random motivational speeches at 9 AM and his tired eyes all the time. I've thought, why I haven't thought of that sooner? Anyway, we got it confirmed a couple of months down the line that he was buying from Big Jerry. He was quite big. Jerry was your usual school bully, stupid as a rock, and known for dealing stuff left and right. Despite his ignorance, he always managed to pass his exams, sometimes even having really good marks. So, this explained everything. He was dealing coke to the principal, and in return he would pass his exams. Fun times. Sometimes I wonder, how was I so naive thinking that adults actually got their lives together? I've attended your typical high school. It had your typical students, your typical classes, your typical canteen, and your not so typical principal. How can I put this? Let's just say he really enjoyed speaking his mind. It wasn't anything subtle about him. He used to insult students, telling them they are stupid and so on. Really inappropriate stuff. Maybe he just got sick of children. Who knows? Who cares? One day he was giving his usual announcement over the mic about the canteen menu for today. He sounded excited as usual. After everything is said and done, we can hear the speakers buzzing like they usually do when the announcement finished, but this time we could still hear voices after the buzz. The principal was saying to the chef not to serve a specific type of food anymore, because apparently last week there was a problem with the bathrooms on all floors and the smell was terrible. I'll let your imagination fill up the rest. He then continued saying they eat, and sh*g like pigs. Never have children. All the laughter suddenly stopped. I could see my teacher getting embarrassed by the whole situation. She was probably thinking the same. The chef handed in his resignation afterwards, and the principal got his car painted by the senior boys. They wrote "I'm a pig farmer" on his side doors. They also drew a pig's face on the windshield. 3 days later he was fired, and we stopped getting any announcements about our canteen menu. Years later the canteen was turned into a studio for music classes and everyone was packing lunch then. We had this principal once who was quite funny, really laid back, and open-minded individual. Everyone around school liked him very much and thought he was really cool. You could see that he was a genuinely nice guy and he was doing his best for the school to do well. One day we got told the school unit was going to be sold to a rich guy that wanted to turn the school into a private institution. Basically, messing up the whole structure of our education and wiping out our academic history. Money above everything, I guess. Anyway, we thought this was only rumors, but later we got confirmation the deal was going forward. Apparently, the teachers had something to do with it, because they complained about their salaries, so they have conspired against the principal. Our main guy got a hold of this, and he wasn't going down easy. In the morning, just in time for the principal's daily announcement over the microphone, we could all hear our principal going over the usual agenda. As he was coming to an end, he made a short pause and he continued, "In addition to the specified menu, we will also have desserts to help us cope with all the salty people." Everybody stopped and listened. He proceeded, "Do not forget to study hard for your upcoming exams. You will feel better about yourself, but your results won't matter anyway, because the school will be run by people giving out diplomas based on financial contributions, not academic performances. Also, remember to be nice to your teachers, because you never know when they might stab you in the back. Also, let's not forget about Sharon and the new gym teacher. His office is not as private as you think. Send out a positive example to the kids, rather than failing more than your students do on every exam. John my guy, you still remember when my family cooked for you during Christmas because your wife left you and you didn't even know how to fry an egg? Yes, good times indeed. Oh, and James, how are your AA meetings going? Are you still blaming your addiction issues on your students? Everybody was in awe and sounds of laughter could be heard from every classroom. Finally, remember kids, the only person to trust is yourself. Principal Louis out. Now that was the funniest and most inspiring moment from school. I probably learned more during his speech than I did in most school years. Imagine this perfect principal. Your ideal family man always dressed sharply and charming. Truly a heartbreaker. It was morning, and it was the time for the routinely announcement. He went over the usual school agenda over the microphone. Everybody in school could hear him. That was the whole point of the announcement anyway. Suddenly, in the middle of his speech his phone rang. He started to talk faster to end his announcement, and then thought he was going to hit the button to end the transmission. Unfortunately, or luckily for our entertainment, he turned up the volume, rather than finishing the button to end the transmission. He answered the phone and his tone changed into something quite delicate. He went on saying, "You shouldn't have called here. You are naughty. Someone is going to get punished tonight." We couldn't believe what we were hearing. He went on saying, "My wife doesn't know a thing. This is so exciting. But please don't call here again. My secretary might be listening to my calls. I think she also stole my pack of cigarettes. Probably need to hire a new one. I can't wait to see you tonight. Should we meet at the hotel, like we always do?" Oh, snap. Hold on. I think I've done a terrible mistake. I'll call you back. The transmission then stopped, and so was everyone else. I've thought to myself, this can't be real. This only happens in movies. For the following weeks there were no other announcements. They simply stopped. Months later our principal resigned. His personal life was probably not in a good place either. Ironically enough, it was the secretary taking his place as the school principal. Maybe now she could afford her own cigarettes. Boys in our school had tradition of bringing alcohol to school in our last week of school. Why study when you can have fun, right? So, every year, all the boys came with a bottle of something probably stolen from their parents or from the store. After classes we all got together in the woods and celebrated the summer ahead of us. We were truly a lost generation. After doing this for several years, the teachers and principal got wind of our unusual habits. So, here we were, approaching the end of the year. Everyone keeping the tradition and showing up with bottles. Little did we know we were compromised. They have organized a checkup at the main entrance. All the bottles were confiscated. The students responsible for this were put down on a list. The following day our principal made an announcement over the microphone. He told us that all the students involved in this initiative are going to get detention for the whole first semester in the next school year. He was quite mad about the whole situation, as you can imagine. After he finished the announcement there was a technical issue with the speakers. I don't know how to explain it, but basically the mic was still active, so you could hear everything that he was saying. His words were, "I can't believe the amounts of alcohol this kid's drink." He could have been talking to his assistant. He continued saying, "Now that I think about it, I have all the alcohol stock ready for Christmas. There's so much of it. Let's have a quick drink now, Michelle. We deserve it. It was such a rough year." The whole situation was totally unexpected and quite funny. Hearing the behind the scenes like that gives you another perspective on who really runs the school. Next year when we started school, we found out the principal was fired for drinking on the job. Probably someone snitched because they wanted to go for his position. This meant no detention for any of us. Happy days all around. So, the tradition continued, but the microphone announcement stopped due to the faulty technology the school was having. Truly miss those days. I was teaching this truly brilliant class and we were getting closer to the final exams of the year. It was a tremendous pressure on us to encourage students to perform better. The reason for this, that we were trying to appeal to potential investors, so we can improve the school facilities. The day before the exam the principal made an announcement over the microphone to encourage students to perform at their best, as this is really important for the school's future. I don't think most of them cared anyway. When you are 13 the school's future is the least of your concerns. He finished his announcement, but you could still hear him talking afterwards. I was thinking back, quote, "Oh, no. He forgot to turn off his mic." The voices were not so clear, but at some point, you could distinctively hear his voice saying, "How are they going to pass the exam? Most of them are as dumb as a rock. We really need this money." I wish parents would stop signing their stupid kids to this school. The kids started laughing, but I was appalled by the situation. I went straight into his office and confronted him. I challenged him, and our fiery discussion was heard in the whole school over the speakers. Also, I have made him aware that everybody heard him, and that it would be wise for him to resign. So, he did. The following week I was nominated as the new principal for my initiative and genuine interest in this kid's education. All students managed to get good results on their exams, contrary to what the former principal was saying. Another man's failed attempt to turn off their mic can be another man's opportunity to a promotion.